And today you are here at a Lunch and Learn webinar through our training program, Gateway to Hope. And today we're going to be talking about cognitive wellness and mental health. So thank you all for being here. As we run through the program today, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. My lovely coworkers who are here with me on the call will collect those questions and send them to me, so I'll have some time at the end to answer them. So if you have any questions as we go through, please just throw them in the chat. Won't answer them right away. I'll answer them at the end. For those of you who are new to the Hope and Healing Center, we offer educational events through our training program, Gateway to Hope, where there's a variety of different topics, usually focused around wellness, mental wellness, mental health, some neuroscience thrown in there, a lot of trauma, substance use and abuse. And if you are a licensed mental health provider, depending on which state you are in, you can earn a continuing education unit. I know in Texas, our agency qualifies under the 50-50% rule. If you are outside of Texas, you will have to check with your licensing board and see if we qualify as a provider for CE opportunities. The Hope and Healing Center, excuse me, is a nonprofit. We offer no-cost mental health services to individuals in the Houston area. Through most of our services, we do have some other services, such as our Hope Line, which is available to anybody across the U.S. We also do one-on-one therapy, case management, psychiatry, and then again, like I said, we have our Gateway to Hope, which is the training arm of HHCI, where we do events like this around lunch and learns. We also have a variety of other trainings. They are evidence-based. We have our Empower Faith communities, schools, and workplaces. Those trainings are focused specifically for a variety of different locations. We have our 4Rs training, which we have one coming up, I think on the 13th. I have a slide in here in a second. So if you're interested, our next training for the 4Rs will be next month. It's a great resource, so definitely check it out. We also do a longer training called mental health coach training. And it's several hours long. And at the end of that, you can become a mental health coach and start helping individuals in your community on a paraprofessional level. You select a specialty training of those listed here on this slide. Then we also have our mental health champion training, which is for individuals. It's for workplaces, businesses, organizations that way. So I'd say just get on the website. All of our services, the trainings are offered in English and Spanish. It's a great resource. You can scan these QR codes. We talked about the mental health coach training, but all of them, where's the website? But all of the trainings can be found on our website. So maybe my teammates will put it in the chat and you can access the trainings there. It's a great resource if you're interested in learning more about mental health, a variety of different topics. Definitely check it out. This is the 4Rs of mental health support that I mentioned earlier. The next one will be August 13th from noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. You can scan this QR code here. Also, my team member is going to put it in the chat. I think a link to this as well. So if you are interested in learning a little bit about what the 4Rs are, I'd say scan that, check it out. It's a really cool way to understand how you can help someone in the community who you're interacting with who might be struggling with their mental health. So as we jump into today's topic, mental wellness and mental health, let's talk about the objectives. So by the end of today, you'll be able to explain what cognitive wellness is and how daily habits can enhance your long-term brain health. You'll be able to understand how mental health and cognitive functioning are interconnected, how they're related, what that looks like. You'll be able to recognize the impact of life stressors, different life events and choices on our cognitive performance and our mental health. And you will also be able to understand how evidence-based strategies can protect cognitive health and build resilience. So, So what is cognitive wellness? Cognitive wellness is the ability to effectively use mental processes to think clearly, to learn. It's not just being smart or having a high IQ. It's the ongoing process of keeping your brain active, healthy, and engaged, so we don't become phone zombies. With the rise of technology, we just kind of scroll and scroll and scroll. Just as physical wellness requires that we take care of our body, exercise, nutrition, take care of ourselves, cognitive wellness requires activities and behaviors that support our brain function, that keep us healthy and active throughout our lives. Brain health is not separate from mental health in that it's totally unrelated. They're not necessarily the same thing, but cognitive wellness impacts our everyday functions and our ability to address our mental health and handle that. We'll talk a little bit more about that. They are slightly different, but they are definitely interconnected. So factors that influence cognitive functioning, we have biological, environmental, social, lifestyle factors, and then we'll talk a little bit about protective factors as well. But biological factors are our genetics, our family history, age-related changes to the brains, just kind of normal things that happen as we age, physical health conditions that may impact our brain. Some people may end up with brain tumors or dysfunction in their brain. And then we have hormonal and neurological factors as well. So the hormones and neurological issues that may come up or that may fluctuate within our brain that may be normal or abnormal. Lifestyle factors. So our sleep is really important. That influences our ability to think, our cognitive function. Good quality sleep is important. Staying hydrated is really important, and getting good nutrition. So not just eating well, but also making sure that we are drinking enough water. I've got my water here. Physical activity levels are really important. I know I stand up and walk around throughout the day because a lot of my time is spent here in front of this computer. So making sure that I am moving my body is important, not just for my physical health, but also my cognitive function. And then substance use, that can play a part in it as well. If we're drinking alcohol or using drugs, that will impact our ability to function cognitively well. Our environment and then our social circles impact our function. If we have high demands from either school or work, or even family demands, caregiving demands, things along those lines. Our social relationships and support are really important. They can be a positive influence on our cognitive functioning if we have good people to lean on and call to when we need support. Access to learning opportunities. So not necessarily just education, like the kind of traditional educational systems that we see, but also being able to pick up and learn things and try to learn new trades and activities as we go. And then our level of stress or trauma. So if we're exposed to high levels of stress and trauma, that environmental factor is going to have an impact on our cognitive functioning, especially if that is coming about at a young age. And then our protective factors, so things that are going to help protect our cognitive function and ensure that we have good cognitive function as we grow and age, is regular exercise, lifelong learning, like I said, not necessarily just within like a school system, but being able to continue to engage our brain and that learning function that our brain has. Every animal, and we are animals, can learn. Strong social connections can really be a great support, as we become more and more isolated as a society. We used to do lunch and learns like this in person. There's a great reason to have it online. We've got people from all over the place here with us today, but not being in face-to-face with people can limit our ability to create social connections, and having strong social connections is a protective factor. And then if we don't have great stress management skills, if we're not able to deal with life as it comes at us, that's going to have a negative impact. So developing abilities to effectively handle and manage our stress is really important as we think about protective factors to our cognitive functioning. As we jump in, up, if you'll throw in the chat, where are you from? Mentioned social support as a great protective factor to our cognitive functioning. So if you have the chat open in front of you, I've got Houston, Texas, Kingsland, Georgia, Indiana, Houston, North Carolina, Georgia, lots of Houston folks. Love that. Dallas, New York, California, Queens, DC, H-Town, New York, New Jersey, Florida, Houston, Texas, Iowa, Houston, India. That's wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Maryland, Ohio, San Antonio. That's where I'm from. Kansas, Houston, DC, Tennessee. I love that. Thank you all so much for sharing where you're from. I love getting to see people not just in Texas or the US, but all over. It's great. Like I said, great that we can have this online and be able to share and connect with people from all over the US. Oh, whoa. All right, I forgot to do that at the beginning, so I'm glad I. Okay, so characteristics of strong cognitive wellness. So what does it look like when we have great cognitive functioning, when we have strong cognitive functioning? We have the ability to concentrate and pay attention when we choose to, right? I mean, there's always points of time where maybe you're a little bit more stressed and not able to pay attention or concentrate as much. But for the most part, you have control over your ability to concentrate and pay attention. You have clear and organized thinking, getting your message across to someone, sharing that effectively verbally and in written communication is clear and organized. You are able to deliver the message in a way that other people understand what you are trying to say. You have the ability to learn from your experiences. So your memory is intact, not just with, oh, this is my partner's birthday, I have memory in that way, yes, but also being able to look back at past experiences and say, okay, well, when I did this, that upset my friend, so I will try not to do that again, and then learn from past experiences, past behavior, and change it for the future. A sign of strong cognitive wellness is your ability to adapt and make changes to your behavior. So problem solving. So recognizing, okay, I'm trying to do X, but these things are getting in the way. So I need to adapt and shift my behavior or the system in which I'm working in a way that I can reach the end result and problem solve towards that goal. Another sign of good cognitive wellness is good judgment and decision making. So, excuse me, you're able to think about your goals, the objectives that you have in life, whether that's a task or in relationships or for your own self-respect, and make healthy judgments about where you're trying to go in life, what you would like your day to look like, or your week, or your year. You have goal planning and the ability to make decisions that lead you towards achieving those goals in the most effective way possible. Benefits of having strong cognitive wellness. So there's some categories here. There's personal benefits, there's emotional benefits, and then there's long-term benefits. Personal benefits improves your ability to learn. You're going to be able to grow in the setting in which you are at, whether that's work or school or even in relationships. Your productivity will increase. You'll feel a sense of satisfaction because you'll notice that you're able to kind of make these moves and changes and adjustments towards your goals. You'll be able to communicate effectively, get your message across, feel understood and heard by other people, which then again kind of increases the self-respect and sense of self. Will increase your confidence, and this all becomes kind of circular. In your confidence increasing, your decision making and your problem solving will increase because you'll be more effective in communicating because you're more confident. So it becomes this kind of snowball effect. Is when we are cognitively well, it can positively impact all of these areas in our life, which then turn around and impact our cognitive wellness positively. The emotional benefits, is that one of the biggest things that we see with cognitive wellness is people are much more likely to feel a sense of resiliency during distressing or challenging situations. It doesn't mean that you won't have challenging situations or that you won't feel distress or pain or sadness through them, but you'll be able to move through that situation in a way that you come out of it much more kind of held together than someone who maybe does not have as much resiliency. You'll have a greater sense of self-awareness. You'll be able to recognize what you're thinking and what you're feeling and be able to address those as they come, and which will help with your relationships and being able to have healthy relationships. You'll be able to deal with stress, even just normal everyday stress as it comes, and navigate that in a way that doesn't negatively impact you. We can all think of a day where we were really stressed out and that had some negative effects on our outcomes on our day. And then it just reduces the risk of cognitive decline associated with cognitive stress. So if we're emotionally well, we're less likely to have some negative cognitive decline as we age, which moves into the long-term benefits. It can help promote healthy aging, making sure that you're engaging your brain and you're trying to learn and you're trying to grow and you're continuing to do things like coming to lunch and learns. You're constantly seeking out ways to engage your brain, promotes healthy aging and brain function, which then supports independence in your living as you age. Many people may need support, but this will help maybe delay that or prevent that. And it can just contribute to your overall wellness, not just mental health or your mental wellness, but your physical well-being as well. For those of you just joining us, if you have questions throughout this, please post them in the chat. And at the end, I will go through and answer those questions. So what's the relationship between cognitive wellness and mental health? They sound very similar. Cognitive, mental health, wellness, good. I mean, it sounds very similar, but they are a little different. Mental health influences how our brain processes information. So the way I like to think about mental health is the same way I think about physical health. Mental health is all encompassing. Our mental health can either be well, like our physical health, or it can be poor, like our physical health. Cognitive wellness promotes challenges and cognitive wellness is when we are able to promote our brain function. So the challenges that we interact with every day, we're able to move through those through thought awareness, self-evaluation, our ability to learn and concentrate. So cognitive changes can affect our emotional well-being, so our mental health. So if we are not cognitively well, if we're unable to learn, reflect back on pasts, or understand how things are impacting us, that can have a negative impact on our mental health or our emotional well-being. Positive cognitive wellness or positive cognitive functioning promotes emotional regulation. So if we are able to maintain our cognitive wellness, our ability to think well, problem solve, and evaluate, then we are more likely able to address our emotions, identify what we're thinking, identify what we're feeling, and then regulate those emotions. Doesn't limit our ability to experience emotions. We'll still have the range of emotions: sadness, happiness, anger, disdain, frustration, joy, but we will be able to regulate those in a way that we are still able to be productive and functional every day. Won't negatively impact us. So brain and emotional health influence one another. If our cognitive wellness, if we're not able to concentrate or focus or function, learn, that's going to have an impact on our mental health, and vice versa. If our mental health is not good, if we've been diagnosed with depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, any sort of thing, if we've experienced trauma, that mental health issue, that illness, may impact our cognitive wellness as well, right? If we're experiencing a deep bout of depression, we may not be able to cognitively process information or learn from an event because our mental health is not well. So they are not the same, but they do go hand in hand. So the effects of stress on the brain. And stress is very, I'm going to talk about it in a very broad term. So you have stress in a variety of different situations. You have everyday stress all the way from one end of the spectrum all the way up to trauma on the other end of the spectrum. So how does stress affect our brain? It's not good for our brain. Get cut right to it there. Chronic stress can create lasting effects on our cognitive performance or our ability to think if we don't manage it effectively. For those of you who are interested in trauma, when we talk about childhood trauma or trauma that is chronic through our younger years, that actually can negatively impact how the brain develops in childhood. So stress and trauma are not just, oh, it's just something that we're sad about or something bad that happened to us and we need to work through it and get over it. It can actually have a physiological effect and impact how your brain develops, which all of that can, and whether it's in childhood or in adult, chronic stress at work, chronic stress in your home situation, even as an adult, can reduce your ability to pay attention and focus. It can impair your memory, recall, and formation, so you're not able to remember things, therefore you're not able to recall that information. It can affect your decision-making ability. You may be making more impulsive decisions or decisions based out of a point of distress or fear. It can increase your mental fatigue. And by mental fatigue, I mean, a good example is you've had a rough day at work. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And you go home and you're just like, oh, I'm ready to just stop thinking about anything. That's an example of a point of mental fatigue. But when we have chronic stress on the brain, that mental fatigue becomes chronic as well. So you don't wake up in the morning feeling rested. You feel very fatigued in your ability to kind of think and sit down and pay attention and recall what you need to do that day. And it can negatively impact your ability to function every day. Like I said earlier, all of this impacts not just our cognitive functioning or wellness, but our mental health as well. So emotional distress or stress in the brain can lead to poor mental health, which then can circle right back and negatively impact our brain's ability to function. Okay, so daily habits that can support cognitive wellness. Sleep. Sleep is so important, and sleep is so easy to address for a lot of people. There's no stigma associated with sleep. No one says, oh my gosh, if you go, I didn't sleep well last night, or I woke up at 4 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep. Everyone empathizes with that. We all love sleep. We go, oh, that's the worst. So there's no stigma associated with the inability to sleep or having good sleep. So it's a really easy, quick fix to help maintain your brain health. And if you are someone who struggles to sleep for whatever reason, there are oftentimes solutions to help with that. There's medications that doctors can prescribe. There's different sleep routines that you can practice to help get yourself sleeping a little bit better. There's hormonal evaluations that you can go through. And again, those are not stigmatized. No one judges you for having sleep issues. If anything, people feel very empathetic for that. So it's a very easy way to support your cognitive wellness, is make sure that you're getting adequate and good sleep. We talk about exercise. That's important not just for our physical bodies, but if we think about our brain, it is a physical part of our body. It is literally inside of our skull. It is an organ. So exercise is really good for that organ, just like it is for all of our other organs. Practicing mindfulness and stress management. Mindfulness can look like a lot of different things. It can look more Eastern kind of practices that people typically think about with mindfulness, kind of this Zen, very focused or calm space. But mindfulness can also look like sitting down and working on a project that's not work related, something that you're enjoying. Maybe you are a painter or you like to do pottery, or you're out working in the garden, being mindful of just that, focused in on that one activity. That can be really, really helpful and a way to support your cognitive wellness, because you're putting aside the stress of the day. So every time a thought comes in of something that's stressful or distressing, whether that's relationships, work, school, anything, a break from the stress of day-to-day lives. So another really important way to support your wellness or cognitive functioning is staying mentally active through new ways of learning or problem solving. That can be little games, doing puzzles. Sudoku is a great one. It gets your brain active and thinking. You have to problem solve and figure out different things. An example of the opposite of that would be sitting down and turning on the TV and just kind of vegging out and watching a show. While that's enjoyable and might be a little bit of a break, it does not promote cognitive functioning, right? And we're not necessarily using our brain to learn and grow. And it is really important that you're using it as we age, so we don't lose the ability to use all of our brain. And then social relationships, that can be really helpful as well. Through having active, healthy social relationships that are meaningful and bring positive aspects to our lives, we're able to engage in a lot of these other things that we've talked about today. So we're able to remember things, and we're learning things about people, and it helps with our wellness. Social support is a great a protective factor for people struggling with mental health issues. So if you have a diagnosis, and again, mental health and mental wellness or cognitive functioning are connected. So these are all ways to support your cognitive wellness. There's obviously others. I'm sure you guys are listing them in your head that are more specific activities. You may even be putting them in the chat. So I'd encourage you to look at these and say, which of these kind of categories am I engaged in? What do I do that supports my cognitive wellness? And if I'm not doing any right now, that's okay. But there's always time to start. And encouraging people in your life to take care of themselves as well is really important. So again, some common stressors that can occur in most of our lives are work-related demands, financial concerns. That's a big stressor for a lot of people. Family responsibilities or social responsibilities. Our health, if we're in good health, that's great. But as soon as we start to have health challenges, that can really be a big life stressor for a lot of people. And then major life transitions, whether that's good or bad. Obviously things like a divorce are stressful life transitions, but getting a promotion and having to move across the country to take this new job is a great situation. And that's a major life transition, having to move, just whether you're just yourself or your family across the country can be very stressful. So these kind of day-to-day stressors, these categories that we know stress pops up for everyone in, can reduce our focus. It can increase our forgetfulness. Like I said, increase that mental exhaustion, or that as our mental load increases, what we're having to think about, and all of these things that we're juggling in today's society, our mental exhaustion increases right with that. Which then results in us having difficulty making decisions that are going to be effective and beneficial for us. And we see a deep decline in our mental health. You might start to feel a little depressed or anxious, or you might start to notice that you're not waking up feeling good. Maybe there's a little bit of anxiety, and that impacts your ability to stay focused and really be present when you're worried or fearful about what might come or what the future might hold. So one of the best things you can do as we talk about all of these day-to-day stressors that we're going to have, life is stressful, it happens, it comes up. What can we do about it? How do we manage this? How do we make sure that we are attending to our cognitive wellness, our mental health? What we can do is work on building resilience. Sorry. So what is resilience? We talk about, oh, I need to be resilient through this. Resiliency is very important, but really it's the ability to adapt and recover from challenges. How we learn resiliency can be done in childhood. Maybe we had parents who, when challenges hit them, they did not let it drag them down. They were able to model resiliency and so pick up on that. That's great if that's the situation you are in, or if you can model that for your kids. But for many of us that weren't modeled that or don't know that, it's definitely something that can be learned. You can figure out different coping strategies or things that help you take that mental load or the distress or stress of the day and set it aside to where you are able to get a moment of rest and not run down the catastrophizing lane of what's the worst to come. It really, resiliency is just your ability to manage stress effectively. It does not mean that you will not experience stress. Everyone does. It's a normal human emotion or experience, but how you deal with it is very, very important. Maintaining a healthy functioning, in order to maintain healthy functioning in the midst of distress, having resiliency is vital for that. Having resiliency will improve your ability to regulate your emotions. You'll see that happen as something distressing comes up. You might become angry or distressed or sad, whatever the emotion might be, and your ability to manage that emotion and not let it spiral out of control is a sign that your cognitive wellness is strong. You'll be able to problem solve. So as distress hits, you'll be able to stay resilient and problem solve through the situation and not become overwhelmed by it and sink into a hole. Your ability through problem solving to adapt to the new situation or the current situation will be great. People who don't have resiliency or struggle with it won't be able to adapt. They'll become very rigid. And so this is the way that we're going to do it. And when life doesn't allow you to go that way, your inability to adapt will really shine through. So resiliency allows us to strengthen our ability to adapt. And having resiliency will also allow us to continue to use positive coping skills. We won't rely on unhealthy or negative coping skills. Some common ones are drinking, substance use, right? People who experience distress and go straight to these unhealthy coping skills maybe don't have the higher level of resiliency, which then negatively impacts their cognitive wellness. So resiliency is really, really important. Not just for us as adults, but as we model that to the younger generation, so they're able to adapt and problem solve through all of the challenges and stress that we know life brings. Right? So some strategies for long-term brain health. We talked a little bit about this, but aerobic exercise is really, really great. Gets those endorphins up. Not just physically taking care of yourself, like exercise, but also making sure that you have healthy eating patterns, that you're not over dieting or restricting, too much, but that you're not overindulging either, that you're getting a good quality diet. And then quality sleep, we talked about that. It's an easy one to adjust if that's what you're struggling with. Cognitive training or lifelong learning, making sure that you're engaging in things that stimulate your brain, that gets it moving and thinking. Even if it's hard, you have to put a little bit more thought into it. That little bit of more thought and effort that you have to use will increase your brain health. Managing your stress, not letting it sit in your shoulders like this, where you're just stressed all day, but really being able to navigate how to identify your stress and then how to work through that, building that resiliency, and then also making sure that you have a good support system around you, having those strong social connections and those engagements, getting out and being social, when it's so easy to stay behind a computer these days. So how do you actually apply this though? Creating a routine, making sure that you're attending to this. Practicing mindfulness, exercising, eating well doesn't just happen. There's intention behind it. You have to make sure that you are intentionally engaging in these activities. It's not like breathing, something that just comes naturally. We have to make sure that we are intentionally doing that. And then being realistic about how we intentionally go about it. If I haven't worked out in 3 years and I say I'm going to work out every day for the next 6 months, that might not be realistic. I'm going to go lift weights every day for the next 6 months, the heaviest weight. Well, maybe it's just I'm going to get up and walk around for 10 minutes, for the next week, every day, see what that looks like. Being realistic, that will help. That way we are able to achieve the goals, which gives us some encouragement that we can continue to grow and push that a little bit further. And then being able to monitor your stress levels is really, really important. Don't avoid it. Don't avoid the negative things that happen in life. Look at it, face it head on, address it, work through it. That way it doesn't continue to build and you don't become overwhelmed and just really fatigued by it. In the community, we can try to find encouraging, supportive environments and people who are going to support us as we work to take care of ourselves and promote our mental health. Coming to events like this is a great way of promoting mental health awareness. You're learning information, you're gathering it, you can go share it with people, use it in your practice, or invite people to the next event. Being able to help us reduce the stigma associated with mental health is great. Share the resources, whether that's our training resources or if you're in Houston, all of the variety of different mental health therapies and services that we offer here in the clinic. And then fostering social connection and inclusion is something that you can do in the community. If you're a friendly person, invite people to social events. That's how you can apply that, not just for yourself, but for the community as well. So next steps, what does that look like? Identify 1 or 2 things that you are doing and pat yourself on the back. That's great that you're engaging in these already. Many people are so overwhelmed with stress that they are not taking care of their cognitive functioning, and that negatively impacts their mental health. So if you're doing something or you're feeling good, that's great. Take note of what you're doing. So when a very distressing time in life comes, and that might happen, unfortunately, you're able to lean back on those practices and behaviors that you've been doing, and your cognitive function will not decline, and you'll be able to maintain your mental health. And if you're someone who's sitting here going, I don't do a lot of that, like I would really like to see myself increase some of these things. Remember that you have full control of that. I mean, you have the ability to say, okay, this is how I want to set a goal. I want to work towards that goal and make these changes so I can increase and support my cognitive functioning, which will then increase my ability to support my mental health and my physical health and my spiritual health, if that's an area of importance for you. If you're cognitively well, you're going to be able to address all of those areas of health. You're going to feel more social, so your social health will increase. But just pick 1 or 2 small daily habits that influence your brain functioning and start engaging in those. Take care of your mental health, take care of the stress. Therapy is a great resource for that. If you don't know where to start, maybe you don't feel like you have the social support to share. I'm struggling, I need some help. Therapy is a great resource for that. If you're, I don't think I have a slide, but if you're, maybe you don't have access to therapy, maybe it's too expensive, or you don't have anyone close to you, or for whatever the reason, we have a service called the Hope Line. I wish I had a slide here, but one of our free resources available to anybody who can call is the Hope Line, and it's not a crisis line. So if you're in crisis or someone is in crisis, life or death, you need to refer them to 988. But if you're just needing some support, you want to talk to someone, a listening ear, you can call the Hope Line, and the phone number is 832-831-7337. That's 832-831-7337. You can find that on our website as well. But it's a free resource. You get 30 minutes on the phone with a mental health coach. And all of these coaches have gone through the trainings that are offered here in our learning portal at the Gateway to Hope training. So it's a kind of great full circle way of our coaches are trained by us. They're able to help support you, and it's a free resource to the community. So again, if you don't have the ability to access traditional mental health, a therapist or whatnot, this is a great place to start if you're needing some support. And then incorporating some of these things that we've talked about just into your day-to-day, like sleeping well, physical health, all of these things, research shows are going to impact positively your cognitive functioning, which then again, like I said, impact your mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and relational health. So as we close, I'm going to pull up, oh look, I do have the, I believe the PowerPoints will be sent out. My lovely coworker Grace, she may have answered that question if people were asking, but here's the website that you can go to access the trainings. Wonderful resource, check it out. It's got a lot of information. And then some of our resources here, like I said, the Hope line, there's that number there. It's 832-831-7337. We have a variety of different ways that you can get referrals through the website. You can look for support groups, things like that if you're needing help finding a mental health provider. There's some awesome resources that we have. The website has a whole bunch of stuff, so I would encourage you to go check it out. You'll see a poll that just popped up. Let's see. Our mental health coach training is the longer training. It's a great resource if you're interested in actually learning something that you can take related to mental health and apply in your community, whether that's leading a support group or helping people maybe at your faith community or place of work. It's a very well thought out resource, and there's a variety of different specialties. So trauma, aging, substance use, and then child and adolescence, before different specialties you can pop in. So if you're needing more information, here's where you go to get that information. You can reach out to us. Someone will be able to answer any questions you have. Then here's some resources. All this information is on the website as well. Another really cool resource that we have is our podcast, Madness and Grace. You can access it anywhere that you find any of your other podcasts. So it's co-hosted by myself and our CEO, Dr. Matt Stanford. We get on and talk about the intersection of religion, spirituality, and mental health, different topics, how those overlap. If you're interested in hearing about a topic that we haven't covered, you can email us and do our best to address that. But we also have a whole bunch of lunch and learns. You can learn about different mental health topics. Once you become a coach, you've gone through that training on our Gateway site, you're able to have access to some coaching calls and get some support there. So we create a whole network of coaches that you can really get some great training on. You can sign up for SMS updates for the training. You would just text sign me up to this number here, 346-449-8400. And then if you've gone through any of our other training, or even after today's lunch and learn, please share your testimonial. Was this helpful? What did you get from it? What would you like to see, or is there something more that we could improve on? Getting testimonials from you is really helpful way for us to adjust and make sure that you guys are getting the information that